The cold night. The night was colder than usual. The wind moved through the dark forest like a whisper of ice. Snowflakes drifted from the sky and covered the ground in white silence. A lonely man named Daniel walked along the narrow path that led to his small wooden cabin. His breath came out like smoke in the freezing air. Daniel had lived many winters alone. His cabin was far away from the city. He liked the silence. He liked the sound of the fire burning at night. But tonight the silence felt heavy, as if something strange waited in the darkness. He pulled his coat tighter. The crunch of snow under his boots was the only sound. His eyes scanned the trees. The shadows looked alive. He tried to push away the thought, telling himself it was only the cold playing tricks. When he reached the clearing near his cabin, he froze. There was something lying on the snow, two shapes, unmoving. His heart raced. For a moment, he thought it was animals, maybe deer fallen in the storm, but as he stepped closer, the truth shocked him. Two women lay on the ground, their skin pale and glowing faintly as if touched by moonlight. Their clothes were torn and strange, not like anything from Earth. Their hair shimmered as if silver light ran through it. Daniel's first thought was impossible. They did not look human. He knelt beside them, brushing snow from their faces. Their eyes were closed, their bodies shivering weakly. They were alive, but just barely. Daniel looked around. The forest was silent. No footprints in the snow, except his own. No sign of where they came from. He hesitated. Fear battled with his sense of duty. Who were they? Where did they come from? And why did they look so unnatural? But the cold was killing them. If he left them here, they would not survive the night. Daniel made his choice. He lifted the first woman carefully. She was lighter than she looked, her skin strangely warm against the freezing air. He carried her inside the cabin and laid her on the couch. Then he rushed back into the storm to bring the second. His hands numb, his breath sharp, but he did not stop until both were safe inside. He lit the fire quickly. The flames rose, filling the cabin with golden light and warmth. He covered them with heavy blankets, watching as their bodies slowly stopped trembling. He sat on the chair across from them, staring, his mind racing. They looked almost human, but their faces had markings, faint glowing lines across their skin like living tattoos. Their ears were slightly pointed, and their nails shimmered like crystal. Every part of them whispered of something not from this world. Daniel rubbed his face, asking himself what he had just done. Helping two strangers in the middle of a freezing night was one thing, but helping two beings who were clearly not human, that was another. Still, something inside him told him it was the right thing. The fire crackled. Outside, the storm grew stronger, but inside the cabin it was warm. Daniel sat in silence, his eyes fixed on the two women. Then it happened. Both of them opened their eyes at the same time. Their gaze locked on him, glowing with strange light. Not blue, not green, but something in between, colors shifting like the surface of a star. Daniel's heart pounded. He wanted to speak, but the words caught in his throat. Before he could react, the two women whispered in perfect unison, their voices soft yet echoing, as if from far away. They said his name, Daniel. He froze. The sound of his own name on their lips chilled him more than the winter outside. He had never seen them before. He had never met them. Yet they knew him. The fire flickered. Shadows danced on the cabin walls. Daniel sat still, his breath caught between fear and wonder. Who were they, and why did they know his name? The storm outside raged louder, as if the night itself listened. Daniel felt the beginning of something far greater than he could imagine. The cold night had changed, and nothing in his life would ever be the same again. Strangers in his cabin. Daniel sat frozen in his chair. The fire crackled between them. The two strange women looked at him with glowing eyes. They had spoken his name, but their voices carried an echo not of this world. For a long moment, no one moved. The storm outside beat against the walls. The cabin groaned with the wind. Then one of them shifted under the blanket, her hand trembling as she tried to sit up. Daniel rushed forward, instinct stronger than fear. He caught her shoulders and helped her rise. Her skin was warm, her touch strange. It felt like holding living energy. She looked at him and spoke again, her words broken. Safe here. Daniel's heart hammered. You can speak English, he whispered. She nodded weakly. her accent thick, every word like a melody. "Little, only little," she said. The second woman stirred, her eyes opening wider, brighter. She sat up with more strength than the first. Her gaze sharp, she studied Daniel as if weighing his soul. Then she spoke. "You saved us," her voice firmer, though still strange. Daniel tried to steady himself. "Who are you? What are you doing here?" he asked, his voice low. The second woman tilted her head, her silver hair shining in the firelight. "Not safe to say. Hunters, follow. Danger close," she whispered, her voice carried weight, as if danger was already outside his door. Daniel felt a chill not from the cold. He looked at the door, then back at them. "Hunters? What kind of hunters?" he asked. The first woman touched his arm, her fingers soft but urgent. "Please protect us," she said. "They kill, they take, they will find." Daniel pulled away slightly. His mind spun. They were not human. He could see it in their glowing skin, the strange patterns across their cheeks, the shimmer in their eyes, and yet they sat there shivering by his fire like lost souls. He moved to the table, pouring water into a cup. His hand shaking, he offered it to them. The second woman took it, her eyes never leaving his face. She drank carefully, as if the simple water was more precious than gold. "Why me?" Daniel asked quietly. "How do you even know my name?" Both women looked at each other, then back at him, their voices blending in unison once again. "Because you are chosen." The words hit Daniel like a blow. He stepped back, shaking his head. "Chosen? For what? I'm just a man living alone in the woods." The second woman's gaze softened. "No, not just man, you carry bond," she said. Her hand touched her chest, then pointed at him. "We feel it." Daniel's throat went dry. The fire popped. Outside, the storm howled louder. He did not know if he was trapped in a dream or nightmare. Suddenly a sound broke the silence. A faint hum carried by the wind. Daniel stiffened. He knew every sound in this forest. This was new, alien. The women both turned toward the door, fear flashing across their faces. "They come," the second woman whispered, her voice shaking for the first time. Daniel grabbed the old hunting rifle hanging by the wall. His hand sure, even though his mind swam in confusion. He loaded the weapon with trembling fingers. The first woman reached for his sleeve. "No, you cannot fight them," she said, "not alone." Daniel's jaw tightened. "This is my cabin, my land. I don't run from strangers knocking in the night," he said, his voice stronger than he felt. The second woman looked at him, her glowing eyes deep with something unspoken. "Then you fight with us," she said, her tone no longer pleading but commanding. Daniel nodded slowly, his fear shifting into something harder. He did not understand these women. He did not understand what hunted them. But they had asked for his protection, and he had given shelter. That promise could not be broken. The firelight flickered across their faces, two alien women wrapped in blankets, eyes glowing with otherworldly power, and a lone man gripping an old rifle. The storm outside carried the sound of something unnatural, something closing in. In that moment, Daniel felt the truth settle heavy on his shoulders. His quiet life had ended the moment he opened his cabin door. The hunters were coming, and the night was not over. The hunters arrived. The storm outside howled, but underneath the sound of wind, another noise grew clearer. A low hum, steady and unnatural. Daniel's grip on the rifle tightened, his breath shallow. He moved toward the small window. The glass rattled from the storm, yet through the blur of snow, he saw lights. Not lanterns, not car headlights, but shifting beams of pale blue cutting across the trees, moving with precision. Searching, Daniel's pulse raced. The women rose from their blankets, their glowing eyes fixed on the same light, their faces pale with fear. "They are here," the second woman whispered, her voice sharp with dread. Daniel looked back at them. "Who are they?" he demanded. "What do they want?" The first woman shook her head. "No time. They come for us. They take us, kill you," she said in broken words, her hand pointing toward the door. The hum grew louder, mixed with a crackling buzz, like machines breathing in the night. Daniel's cabin felt smaller by the second. The fire flickered, as if reacting to the presence outside. The second woman stepped forward, her silver hair glowing faintly. "We fight or we die," she said, her voice steady now, her eyes blazing. Daniel swallowed hard. He had fought storms, wild animals, even men who tried to steal from him long ago, but nothing like this. Yet the thought of giving them up, of opening the door and letting whoever hunted them take them away, filled him with anger. "No," he muttered, "not while I'm standing." A sharp flash of blue lit up the window. A beam scanned across the wall. Daniel ducked, pulling the women lower. The cabin filled with an electric hum, like the air itself was alive. Then came the sound, a heavy thud on the porch, followed by another, footsteps too heavy for a man. Daniel raised the rifle, his finger trembling on the trigger. The door rattled. A hiss filled the room. The first woman pressed close to Daniel, whispering in a language he did not understand. The words carried power. They vibrated in the air. His skin prickled as if touched by lightning. The door burst open. Snow and wind rushed inside, and with it came shadows. 3 tall figures stepped into the doorway, their armor dark, their faces hidden behind masks that glowed with shifting red lines. Weapons in their hands pulsed with alien light. Daniel fired. The gunshot thundered through the cabin. One figure staggered back. Sparks flew from its armor, but did not fall. It growled, a sound metallic and alive. The women moved, faster than human eyes should follow. One lifted her hand, and light burst from her palm. A wave of shimmering energy pushed against the intruders, forcing them back toward the storm. The second drew a blade from beneath the blanket, the weapon curved and glowing as if forged from starlight. Daniel stared for a heartbeat, then loaded another round, firing again. This time the bullet struck deep into a gap of armor. The figure howled and collapsed into the snow. The other 2 raised their weapons. Beams of burning light shot through the cabin, striking the wooden walls. Flames sparked. "Down!" the second woman shouted, pulling Daniel to the floor. Energy hissed above his head, burning through his shelves. The smell of smoke filled the air. Daniel coughed, his ears ringing. But inside him something stirred. He was not only afraid, he felt something else, a strange strength, as if the fire in the women's eyes now lived inside him. He rose, aiming with perfect steadiness. His next shot flew true, the recoil no longer shaking his arm. The figure stumbled back into the storm. The first woman pressed her hands together. A glowing shield appeared in front of them. The alien beam struck it, but shattered like glass against stone. Her face was pale with strain, yet she did not fall. The attackers stepped back into the snow, their red visors glowing. One raised a device to its mask and let out a high-pitched sound that echoed through the forest, a signal, a call for more. "They bring others," the second woman warned, her glowing blade ready. Daniel's mind raced. The cabin would not hold if more came. Fire already licked at the wooden beams, smoke rising. He looked at the women, then at the storm outside. "We can't stay here," he said firmly, his voice stronger than he thought possible. "If more are coming, we move now." The women nodded, their fear shifting into determination. They moved toward the back door. The storm waited for them, cold and merciless, but safer than burning alive in the cabin. Daniel looked once more at the home he had built with his own hands, now glowing with firelight and smoke, and he knew his old life ended tonight. With rifle in hand and the 2 alien women at his side, he stepped into the storm, the hunters close behind. The bond awakens. The storm swallowed them as they left the burning cabin behind. Snow whipped across their faces. The night sky glowed faintly with the light of hunters' weapons. Daniel led the way, rifle gripped tight, his boots sinking deep into the white ground. The 2 alien women followed close, their eyes glowing like twin lanterns in the storm. Behind them, the hunters roared, their heavy steps shaking the snow. Flashes of red light cut through the trees. Beams struck the ground, melting patches of ice into steam. The women moved with unnatural speed, their hands glowing as they deflected shots. But Daniel noticed something strange. Each time their power surged, he felt it in his own chest, as if their strength brushed against his soul. They reached the deeper forest, trees thick and twisted. Daniel dropped to his knee, signaling them to stop. He pointed to a hollow between rocks. a place he had used for hunting traps long ago. "We rest there," he said firmly, though his voice was barely a whisper. The women followed, ducking into the narrow hollow. The wind screamed above them, but inside was silence, only the sound of their heavy breaths. Daniel leaned against the stone, his rifle across his lap, sweat mixed with snow on his forehead. The first woman, the gentler one, placed her hand over her heart, her voice soft. "We feel it. Bond grows stronger," she whispered, her glowing eyes fixed on Daniel. He frowned, confused. "What bond? I don't understand," he muttered. The second woman leaned closer, her silver blade still humming faintly with energy. "When you saved us, when you carried us from death, the link began. In our people, a life saved in such moment ties souls together. No end, no break." Daniel shook his head. "That's impossible. I'm just a man. I didn't do anything special. I just helped." The first woman touched his hand. Warmth spread through his skin. But it was more than warmth. His vision blurred for a second, and he saw flashes, stars burning across endless skies, battles on alien worlds, the two women standing at the center of it all, and himself beside them. He pulled back, gasping, "What was that?" "The bond," the second woman answered calmly, her eyes glowing brighter. "It shares strength, memory, fate. You are part of us now." Daniel's heart pounded. He wanted to deny it. But even as he sat there, he felt different, his body stronger, his fear quieter. His rifle no longer felt like a weak tool, but an extension of his will. Suddenly, the ground shook, a deep hum filled the air. The hunters were closer, their heavy steps echoing through the forest. Daniel's instincts sharpened. He motioned for silence, peering through the snow-filled dark. Red lights moved between the trees, searching, scanning. They were spreading out, trying to trap them. Daniel's grip tightened on the rifle. But before he could move, the second woman pressed her glowing hand against his chest. "Feel it," she whispered. "Let the bond guide you." At first he resisted. Then warmth spread through him again. Deeper this time, his breath slowed. The world around him sharpened. He could see the hunters more clearly, their movements predictable, their weaknesses exposed, as if his eyes were not his own, but enhanced by something greater. He exhaled slowly, raised the rifle, and fired. The shot cracked through the storm, striking true. The hunter collapsed in the snow, not by chance, but by perfect precision. The women smiled faintly, their eyes shimmering. "Yes," the first whispered, "the bond awakens." The other hunters roared, their beams cutting across the trees, but Daniel moved faster now, ducking, rolling, firing again, each shot stronger, sharper, more certain than the last. The women fought beside him, their energy flaring, shields forming, blades striking. For a moment, the storm itself seemed to pause, the three of them standing together, glowing light against the dark. Daniel felt no longer human, no longer alone. But then a piercing cry split the sky, a shriek unlike anything he had heard. The women's faces turned pale. They looked upward, fear in their glowing eyes. Through the storm clouds, a larger shadow descended, massive, metallic, wings of light spreading wide. A hunter ship, its engines shaking the earth, its searchlights sweeping across the forest. Daniel's chest tightened. He had fought men before, animals before, but this was war beyond his world. Yet the bond inside him burned stronger. The women gripped his arms, their voices uniting as they whispered, "Together, we can't fight." Daniel raised his head, his breath steady despite the storm, the bond alive in his veins. He no longer felt like a man hiding in the forest. He felt like something more, something chosen. The night was far from over, and the hunters were only beginning. The truth revealed. The ship hovered above the trees. Its engines roared like thunder. Snow whipped into spirals beneath its glowing lights. Daniel stood with his rifle ready, but deep inside he knew a rifle alone could not stop something so large. The two alien women gripped his arms, their glowing eyes fixed on the sky. The first woman's voice trembled. "They send warship. They will burn forest, take us, kill all," she said, her words heavy with sorrow. Daniel's jaw tightened. Then tell me the truth. No more secrets, he demanded, his voice louder than the storm. Why are they after you? Who are you really? The women exchanged a look, their faces shadowed by fear and guilt. Then the second woman stepped forward, her silver blade glowing faintly. We cannot hide anymore, she said. You must know before you choose to fight with us. Daniel's breath caught. Choose, he muttered. The first woman placed her glowing hand on her chest. We are not soldiers, she whispered. We are daughters, born of royal blood. Our people rule across stars, but enemies rose within our own empire. They betrayed us. They sent hunters to kill us. Daniel's eyes widened. Royalty, you're saying you're princesses. The second woman nodded, her voice cold and steady. Yes, and because of that, we carry what others want most, power, heritage, right to rule. They will not stop until we are captured or dead. Daniel looked away, the snow falling thicker now. He felt the weight of their words pressing down on him. Two alien princesses sitting by his fire, hunted across galaxies, and somehow bound to him. The first woman's voice softened. When you pulled us from the snow, when you gave us fire, the bond tied us to you. Our people believe such bond is fate, not chance. Now you are part of this, whether you want or not. Daniel's heart pounded. He wanted to reject it, to scream that he was just a man who wanted a quiet life. But deep inside, he felt the bond burning stronger. Every moment near them made his blood sing with strength he never had before. He looked at the ship again, its lights sweeping across the forest like a predator's gaze. So what happens if they take you? He asked quietly. The second woman's eyes darkened. If they take us, your world will not remain safe. They will find Earth. They will break it, as they broke other worlds. Daniel felt a chill that had nothing to do with the snow, his cabin, his quiet forest life. All of it seemed so small now. He thought of Earth, of billions who had no idea of the danger above their skies. The first woman reached for his hand, her voice gentle. You saved us without knowing. You can walk away now. But if you stay, you fight beside us. You share our fate. Daniel stared at her glowing fingers wrapped around his breath heavy. The bond pulsed like a heartbeat between them. He saw flashes again, stars burning, armies clashing, and himself standing tall, not as a farmer, not as a hunter, but as something greater. He closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them with resolve. I already made my choice when I opened my door, he said, his voice steady. If they want you, they'll have to go through me. The women's faces lit with relief. The first woman whispered, then together, we stand. Above them, the ship growled. Its weapons hummed. Beams of light prepared to fire. The ground shook as trees bent under the force. Daniel raised his rifle. Though deep down he knew the rifle was not the weapon anymore. The bond was. He felt power ripple through his veins, strength not his own but shared. His vision sharpened, every sound clear. The second woman raised her glowing blade. The first summoned a shield of light. They stood on either side of him, three souls bound by fate, facing the storm of an empire. The warship fired. Beams of energy cut through the forest. Fire erupted around them, snow and flame mixing into chaos. Daniel did not flinch. The bond surged, and for the first time in his life, he felt unbreakable. The truth was revealed, and there was no turning back. The battle for survival. The first blast shook the earth. Trees splintered. Flames spread through the forest. Snow turned to steam under the heat of the warship's weapons. Daniel stood his ground. The rifle in his hands felt different now, heavier with purpose, lighter with power. The bond pulsed through his veins, guiding his every breath. The two alien women flanked him, the first with her glowing shield raised high, the second with her curved blade humming like starlight. Their eyes locked on the hunters spilling from the ship, armored figures with red visors and weapons that hissed with deadly light. The hunters roared as they charged through the fire, their steps shaking the frozen ground. Daniel raised his rifle and fired. The shot rang out like thunder, but this time it was more than metal and powder. Energy from the bond flowed into the bullet. It struck true. The hunter fell in an explosion of sparks. The women moved with him, the first deflecting beams of fire with her shield. Sparks flew as energy shattered against her barrier. The second danced through the flames, her blade cutting through armor like paper, each strike leaving trails of glowing light in the snow. Daniel felt no fear now. His body moved faster than ever before. Each step sure, each shot perfect. He ducked under a burning branch, rolled across the ground, and rose firing again. Two hunters collapsed in the flames. The bond grew stronger with each heartbeat. He felt their strength inside him, and they felt his determination in return. It was no longer three fighting as strangers. It was one will shared across three souls. The warship thundered above, its cannons firing again. The ground exploded near them. Snow and dirt rained down. Daniel shielded his eyes, but the women pulled him close. Their powers flared together. A dome of light surrounded them. The blast struck, but did not break through. The first woman gritted her teeth. "We cannot hold long," she cried, her voice straining. Daniel looked at the ship, rage burning in his chest. He had lost his cabin, his home, his quiet life. Now, they wanted to burn the forest itself. He would not let them, not while he could still fight. He grabbed a fallen branch lit with fire, shoved it into the snow, and with quick hands began setting a trap. Old hunter instincts mixing with the bond's power. Wires, snares, and fire pits formed in minutes. The women looked at him with surprise. "You build war from nothing," the second woman said, a strange respect in her voice. Daniel smirked grimly. "No, I just know how to survive." The hunters pushed forward again, dozens this time, their weapons glowing brighter. Daniel's trap sprung. Fiery pits opened beneath their heavy steps. Branches fell, crushing two under their weight, sharp spikes hidden in the snow-pierced armor. The hunters howled in pain. Daniel fired again and again, each shot finding its mark. The second woman leapt among them, her blade cutting in arcs of silver light. The first woman strengthened the shield, turning beams aside. For a moment, it felt like victory. Hunters falling, fire consuming them, the bond blazing stronger than ever. But then the ship roared louder. Its underside opened, and from within descended a larger figure, twice the size of the others, its armor black with crimson veins, its weapon a massive spear of glowing energy. Its presence made the ground tremble. The women froze, their eyes wide. "General," the first whispered in terror. Daniel tightened his grip on the rifle. "Then he's mine," he growled. The general stepped forward, its spear crackling with power. It pointed at Daniel, its voice deep and metallic. "The bond is forbidden. The human must die." Daniel's heart thundered, but he stood tall. The bond burned brighter inside him. The women moved to his side, ready to fight. The general charged. Its spear struck with lightning force. Daniel blocked with the rifle. The weapon shuddered, but did not break. The bond's energy turned the old gun into something unyielding. Sparks flew as metal clashed against alien light. The women struck from both sides, the blade slashing, the shield smashing. The general staggered but did not fall. It roared and threw them back with a wave of energy. Daniel stumbled, his body aching, but the bond pulled him up again. He roared with fury, charging forward, firing point blank into the general's chest. The bullet exploded with light. The armor cracked. The general howled. The women returned, their powers flaring brighter than ever. Together they struck again, shield, blade, and bullet united. The general collapsed in the snow with a final metallic scream. The battlefield fell silent, smoke and fire curling into the storm. The warship trembled above, then slowly pulled back, retreating into the clouds, its engines fading into the distance. Daniel dropped to one knee, breathing hard. The women knelt beside him, their glowing hands steadying his shoulders. The first whispered, "You fight like our own. Bond makes you more." Daniel looked at them, snow melting on his skin, smoke rising from the ruined forest. "No," he said with a tired smile. "I fight because I won't let anyone take what I care about." The women shared a glance, their eyes soft, the bond between them glowing stronger. The battle was over, but survival was only the beginning. The mate of two worlds. The forest was quiet again. Smoke drifted through the broken trees. Snow fell gently over the ruins. Daniel stood with his rifle hanging at his side, his body aching, his heart racing. But he was still alive. The two alien women stood close to him, their glowing eyes watching the sky where the warship had fled. The first woman touched his shoulder, her hand warm against the freezing night. "We live because of you," she whispered, her voice filled with gratitude. Daniel shook his head. "We live because we fought together," he said, his voice rough but steady. The second woman stepped forward, her silver blade dimming as its light faded. "The general is dead, but the Empire will not stop. They will send more, stronger, faster. They will not forgive this night." Her words carried both warning and sorrow. Daniel looked at the ruined forest, the black smoke rising into the dawn. "Then they'll have to keep coming," he muttered, "because I won't let them win." The women exchanged a glance. Then both moved closer. The first placed her glowing hand on his chest, the second on his arm, their voices soft yet firm. "You are ours now. Bond cannot break. You are chosen mate." Daniel froze, his breath caught. "Mate," he whispered. The first woman nodded. "In our people, bond means life shared, strength shared, destiny shared. You saved us, so fate tied us to you. We are not only allies, not only friends, we are yours, and you are ours." Daniel stared at them, snow falling gently across their glowing hair, the weight of their words heavy on his heart. He thought of his old life, the cabin he had built with his own hands, now gone in flames, the quiet nights by the fire, the silence of the forest. All of it felt distant, broken. Now he stood in the ashes with two alien women claiming him as their mate, two princesses bound to his soul. "I never asked for this," he said softly, his voice trembling. The second woman smiled faintly, her glowing eyes soft. "Fate does not ask. It chooses," she whispered. Daniel's chest tightened. He looked at them both, and despite his fear, despite his confusion, he felt the bond pulsing stronger than ever. It was not a chain, it was not a burden, it was life itself, a fire burning inside him. He closed his eyes, then opened them with resolve. "If this is my fate, then I accept it," he said firmly. The women's faces lit with relief, their voices united in unison. "Then you are truly ours." The dawn broke through the clouds, the first light of morning spilling across the snow. The forest shimmered in gold and silver. The bond between them glowed brighter. But the peace did not last. Far above, beyond the clouds, another shadow appeared. Larger than before, a ship vast enough to cover the sky, its engines rumbling like thunder, its lights scanning across the horizon. The first woman's face paled. "They send fleet," she whispered, fear trembling in her voice. The second woman's hand tightened on her blade, her eyes hard. "Then war begins," she said. Daniel raised his rifle, his body still aching from the fight, yet stronger than he had ever felt. He looked at the two women beside him, his mates, his bond, his new family, and he felt no fear. "Let them come," he said, his voice steady as steel. "They'll learn Earth is not as weak as they think." The women smiled, their glowing hands reaching for his. The bond pulsed. Not only strength but unity, three souls standing against an empire. The snow fell softly, the dawn grew brighter, and high above, the shadow of war spread across the sky. Daniel knew his quiet life was gone forever, but in its place was something greater, a fight for survival, for love, for two worlds tied together. He was no longer just a man in the forest. He was the mate of two alien princesses, bound by fate, chosen by destiny, and ready to face whatever storm the universe would bring. The night had ended, but the war was only beginning.